after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is the incomparable Musa Manzini coming through. That is how we kick off the show this afternoon. It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SA FM. He actually passed away on the 15th of May 2023. And we thought we would open up the show with him this afternoon, bringing you a little bit of that musical compliment. There's a lot coming up today. I hope you had a great weekend. Maybe let's start there. I hope you had a great weekend. I know that for the most part, the country right now is anticipating rain. I left a very rainy Durban with anticipation for it to rain throughout the course of the week. What a time was had at Belito. I had the privilege and the honor of emceeing the F&B Pop Opera in Belito under the invite of the KwaZulu-Natal Philharmonic Orchestra. And what a great event we had. Such a party. And it was lovely also to meet some of you guys out there during the weekend, particularly VG, who is a regular on the show. She often WhatsApps us and chimes in on the conversations. And we got to meet face to face during Saturday's rehearsal, and of course a whole host of other listeners who were there who came forward to say hello. So that was wonderful indeed. Hope you had a great weekend as well on your end, and we are kicking off the week full steam ahead. We're having a conversation now around the crucial role of political parties in combating gender-based violence, and of course the Good Party's decision to join that petition that has been put forward by Women for Change. We spoke to them a couple of days ago. I think it was the week before last. We spoke to them, and they are calling for the cancellation of Chris Brown's tour in South Africa. And Good Party has now joined the bandwagon there. We'll find out, what is the motivation for them joining, and of course what they would like to see. Also coming up, we are talking opportunities. There's applications that are open for a bursary for high school scholarship. We'll find out more from that organization around that. But if you're interested in the potential of a bursary for high school scholarship, then you might want to listen a little bit closer, nearer the second half of the first hour of the show. On the other side of 2 o'clock, we look at celebrating World Chef's Day, which was yesterday, and we'll catch up with the founder of The Next Table. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line if you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge will be taking over the Western Cape. Join us for the 1 hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 25th of October 2024 at the SABC Cape Town M1 Studios, where the University of Cape Town will be taking on the University of the Western Cape in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. RSVP to info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
All right. Following the calls by Women for Change to cancel international musician Chris Brown's South African tour, the Good Party has called for the cancellation of the upcoming concert as well, highlighting his history of domestic violence and the timing of the shows during the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And we've got Caden Urgile joining us now, who is with the Good Party's National Youth Chairperson. How are you doing this afternoon, Caden? Caden? Hello?
Hi.
How are you?
Good and yourself?
I'm great, thank you. Okay, let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about, I spoke to a Woman for Change about a week and a bit ago around their petition that they've got out right now calling for support to cancel Chris Brown's upcoming South African tour. And the Good Party has now joined that petition. Let's talk about your decision to join the decision at this juncture.
Well, thanks for obviously inviting me on today. I think obviously we echo the statement that Women for Change obviously released. The cancellation of this concert and obviously its timing is something that is extremely worrying for us as a party, especially as the only party in Parliament that is led by women. So we do feel like we have a right and a responsibility to speak with women's voices in mind. And with that in mind, we've been a party that has had a long history, if you look, in terms of advocating for GBV prevention as well as femicide. And if you look at our various actions such as displaying and funding our own GBV helplines or our individual on-the-ground actions such as our protest against Runner 5128 who punched a woman in Cape Town, or even our statements that go all the way back to our founding of our party, where we call everything out from, large-scale international decisions regarding women and women's rights, as well as the small localized incidents that happen as well. So the Good Party feels very strongly about, obviously, this performance, its timing, and as you mentioned, its coercion with, the 16 days of activism and what kind of message that sends in the country.
Let me ask you this, why then not make this very strong statement at the onset of his announcement? Why wait for an NPO to be the one who galvanized this movement? If it's such a strong sort of ethos and core to who you are as the Good Party, surely you should have then acted immediately when it was announced that Chris Brown was coming to South Africa.
I think that's a completely fair criticism. I mean, any organization could, of course, jumped on this immediately. We've actually been working on a statement towards this for 2 weeks, myself being included. So it's not something that's just been echoed immediately of Women for Change's movement or anything like that. There's definitely conversations that happen behind the scenes that obviously the public doesn't know about. And with that in mind, I think that when it comes to putting your voice into a conversation, galvanization is one word. I think for us it's echoing, and that's what we've come in this movement, is that it is something that requires both a touch from a political aspect as well as an NGO aspect, because obviously with the recent bills that were passed this year with the femicide and GBV bills, we do believe that there's been now a shift to a zero tolerance stance. And while, of course, we were not immediate on the announcement, we also had to consider our own position and what exactly we wanted to call for and what exactly we wanted to condemn. And with that in mind, we do believe that while we did not enter the conversation first, we will be a strong voice in this conversation regardless, and obviously making our protest to this known.
Let's also get some clarity as to, to borrow your words, you wanted to be certain or clear on what it is exactly you were calling for and what it is exactly you were condemning. Because you mentioned that one of the things that is of concern is the timing. So had the concert been at any other time but 16 days of activism, would it not have garnered as much attention?
I think obviously the timing, anyone can say that the timing is obviously very unfortunate for this publicity of this concert, but at the same time, it still is the individual. And I think what a lot of people need to recognize and need to understand is that South Africa is not setting a new precedent here. Chris Brown has already been barred entry in United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, just to name a few of these countries. And these countries are obviously in a completely different state to us in terms of their GBV rates, their femicide rates, etc. So with that in mind, we really do see that regardless of the timing, regardless of the call for protest, it is absolutely fair for us to be us as well as NGOs, as well as, the public in general, to be questioning this decision because of the fact that, it's not something that even is revolutionary. It is a well-known fact. And the individual himself is also someone, that is not, can be separated from his art and artistry, because it's, of course, someone that is a repeat offender and also has, various allegations still tied around his name now, as well as his entourage. So Good obviously recognizes that, and we recognizes the risk that his performance and his platforming basically stage in this country.
Yeah. Let's also perhaps unpack, as per your words, what are you calling for? Because I know that Women for Change, for instance, are calling not only for the cancellation of his concert, but they're also calling for him to be banned entry entirely into South Africa, and I think into the unforeseeable future. What is good plan calling for, and of course the role of political parties in conversations like this?
I think it's completely fair for them to be calling for that ban. Good is still not completely convinced at the moment to call for a ban, because obviously with him being someone that does have that charged history, we understand that. But at the same time, as someone that is coming into the country, the biggest issue that we have as well is that he's platforming and profiting. And I think that's the big key difference, is that we don't think that he cannot be allowed to visit South Africa in its entirety, but platforming and profiting in that format as well, as a known abuser and as someone who can obviously create this precedent in a time of, just following the 16 days of activism as well. It sets a very bad tone as well in terms of not only government's commitment to these bills and to introduce a zero tolerance structure, but also just to what it does for society. Because if you look at what actually is said, in the guidelines of the 16 days of activism, it talks about, taking a stand against a culture that is just compliant and apathetic towards abusers. And with that, and at the minimum, these people cannot be given the opportunity to not only platform, but profit. And if you look at obviously the ticket costs, and obviously we'll talk about the concert itself later, but the ticket costs are not, catered towards the average South African. They are catered at a very high price for a lot of them. And with that in mind, not only is he coming here and performing, but he's also profiting. And with that in mind, it's in our understanding that we as the Good Party believe that these concerts, these people who are going to them, they should be actually thinking about whether they want to attend something like that. And that's why we've called for a boycott of these concerts, because they've already been fully booked. So with that, we're dealing with what we're dealing with now, because his visa has already been obviously accelerated and accepted, and we don't, with a new GNU transition, as well as the fact that there's new people in positions, as well as the fact that it's obviously a contentious issue, we are trying to deal with what we can at the moment. And at the moment, what we can do is voice our opposition, and voice our opposition to those who are willing to profit with him off of his exposure.
Speaking of those that are willing to profit with him, because in part, it is the business of music. Is there any of this attention that's been, and responsibility that's been leveled to the likes of big concerts? Because they would have been in conversation knowing that Chris Brown has been on tour now for almost a year globally. So they would have been in conversation with him at least about 2 years ago in order to build themselves into his schedule, and conclude those negotiations. Is there a conversation then that has been directed in private rooms behind closed doors at the responsibility of those who bring artists here?
I think, you talk about behind closed doors. In my initial statement, along with Rachel Wapad, who's our women's representative as well, we speak at the end of and we conclude our statement speaking directly to the concert performers and saying that they have this accountability that you're talking about. Because, as you say, not only is Chris Brown profiting, but these people are as well. And I think people also need to realize as well that, as we say, it's not a new precedent. This is not something that the Good Party is doing for cancel culture or specifically in this movement. But we are seeing a zero tolerance attitude. And this is what was brought to us. And this is what the Good Party signed when we signed this GBV and femicide bills. And we also ask other parties that signed this bill, and we ask them, do you not also see that this zero tolerance that you all signed, and this no negotiation, and trying to dismantle this culture where violence against women and GBV as well as femicide and all of its formats just permeates in our society? If we cannot properly tackle that and say that someone who is quite literally a prolific figurehead and hasn't, and I'm going to emphasize this point again, hasn't recently reformed the fact that he uses violence as a way to get conclusions, to obviously consult, to do whatever he wants. Violence is still a part of his society, and that's been seen for both women and men, and that extends not only to him but his entourage as well. So with that in mind, we obviously think that this Yeah.
Yes, sorry, Caden. I hear that, and you know, I'm on the same vibration in as far as gender-based violence and femicide, and there being no room for such in our society, and of course, stronger messaging needing to be sent out. But I think the question around holding a big concert accountable, because they are in the business of profiting multi-millions as well, and this information is as public to you, to me, to our listeners, to his fans, as it is to them also. And we keep having the conversation around business needing to come on board around our social issues. So if we're going to say that there's a responsibility on the fans not to buy tickets, there's a responsibility on various departments not to let him in, then surely there's also a responsibility that must be squarely directed at the concert promoters to say, why in the first place did you initiate his coming in here? Let's hold that thought, and then we'll come back on the other side of the headline news.
Thank you very much, Bridge, and a very good afternoon. With the news headlines at 1:30, Gemudupima Khademele. Local Government Association Salga has called for stricter measures to address corruption in municipalities. The DA has lost its legal challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's address to the nation ahead of the elections in May, and the President of Moldova, Maya Sandu, has blamed foreign forces and criminal gangs for the unexpected results of the presidential election and a referendum on its relations with Europe. And those are your headlines. A full news update coming up at 2.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
FM listeners, good day. My name is Tulani Nzima in Croydon. I'm interested in knowing the stance of the good president, Ma'am Patricia de Lille, considering the fact that she is the Minister of Tourism. What's the impact? Have they thought about the impact of Breezy and his fans coming and converging here in South Africa in that particular tour? What's the impact, and will their stance not do injustice to her work of attracting people into our shores? Thank you.
Hi Bridget, I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I'm a sound engineer, and I'm just listening to this good interview that you're having, and I just want him to know that I'm a sound engineer, and then I'm not involved in this concert, but there are other sound engineers, dancers, other companies that will be involved in this Chris Brown thing. So I mean, we are struggling with unemployment, and I don't think that canceling Chris Brown is going to change anything. It's not going to change anyone beating up women, but it might take away somebody's bread that they might make off this concert. Thanks.
All right, those are some of the views from our listeners this afternoon. 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line, 086002032, and we've got Caden joining us on the line, and he's the Good Party's National Youth Chairperson, and of course they've thrown their weight behind Women for Change's call to cancel Chris Brown's upcoming concert, which is set to take place in December during the 16 days of activism. And Caden, I'd love your response to our callers, and maybe also just doubling back to, has there been a direct conversation that's had or that is planned to be had with a big institution and a big promoter such as big concerts and their responsibility in these matters?
Yeah, first of all, can I just say, fantastic questions. Love the way that they were phrased, and completely valid, I think, in both of their arguments as well. So I'll touch on them after I get to this big business point. And I can also just say that that's a completely valid point. As you say, all of these different, parties play a factor in obviously getting this funding and obviously getting this promotion. And as I said in our statement, we have called them out, and we have called, obviously, and noted them in the statement. And I think that, going forward is going to be the people that where obviously good is going to be aiming its obvious support and its obvious protest is also including the next step is calling out these big companies that are endorsing him, as well as, as you say, planned for months and doing all of these different things. And I think this is like the perfect time to maybe touch on the second question, because it kind of links to that, the job creation, as well as this this question around whether his cancellation is going to affect that. And I think first of all we have to ask the question to ourselves, where if you look at the statistics, our tourism numbers have been rising. So it's his factor is, he's not going to be the big swing vote of whether our tourism is going worse or if it's getting better. So that's its own factor. But with this job creation aspect, do we as a society have to rely on people and individuals coming here and obviously creating something to obviously solve unemployment? Is that on the responsibility of concert owners? Is that on the responsibility of, someone like Chris Brown, or even those promoters? It's a responsibility between business and private sector and public sector, obviously. And the man who spoke about how sound engineers, dancers, etc. are going to be impacted by this. We need to, as a society, be addressing those things as well. It's not a pick and choose where we can't condemn a GBV person and then at the same time we can't promote more concerts as well. Good is strongly in support of taking this publicity, taking this funding, and rather building it back into the South African scene, like we've been talking about for years, but have never really truly achieved in terms of our arts and culture department. And with that in mind, a big name such as Chris Brown can easily be replaced with another big name. And we've seen that in this country as well, with the various touring groups that have come and have started really enjoying South Africa, bringing their own forms of tourism. So we don't think that we have to accept every single celebrity, even the ones that have, clearly a troubled past that could be extremely detrimental bringing into our society. We can't be having that and saying, well, if we don't take them here, this amount of jobs is going to be lost, because that responsibility shouldn't fall on the concert owners. It should just fall on, obviously, that connection between private and public sector, and obviously creating those opportunities for those young dancers, sound engineers, etc.
Yeah. And
to touch.
Yes, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to speak for too long. But obviously the tourism question, which the other gentleman raised, and whether Patricia de Lille has any influence on that. Obviously, Patricia herself, endorsed the statement, knowing obviously the fact that he is a large name, big presence coming in with tourism. But as I said earlier, the point of this is to take a stand and to draw a line in the sand against GBV. And Good saw that line in the sand in terms of the bill, the writing, and all the way that we've been phrasing this year. And for us to obviously have this absolute juxtaposition between the 16 days of activism going to celebrating and selling out stadiums for someone who is, a known abuser with a record, as well as an entourage with a record as well. It doesn't really make sense us as a party. And with that, we have to echo not only Women's for Change's call, but obviously our own call, which is, the only political party that is entering the scene and talking about this. And as a political party and as an NGO, just what I talked about with working between public and private, this is an example of that as well, where a political party and an NGO both agree that, through both sectors, this is something that cannot go forward. Even if it impacts negatively in some small way, the ramifications of letting someone perform in this manner and letting someone with this violent history in a country, like I said, that has, we're talking in the last 3 months, we're talking just under 1,000 murders already with women. We're talking in the last 3 months over 3,000, reports of bodily assault with, intent to cause harm. This is the culture we exist in. And if we continue to say, yes, but, then we're never actually going to solve the issue.
Let me throw a spanner in the works, Caden. And again, for anyone who's just joining our conversation now, just as a woman in South Africa, and seeing the numbers of GBV and having these conversations around GBV and femicide, and having friends and family who work closely in the NGO space around this, I'm very much, pro the change, the social change and the political change that needs to happen in order for us to curb this sort of disastrous, deadly social behavior. But I want to throw a spanner in the works, and I want to ask, we spoke about the role, you spoke about the role of political parties in amplifying the work of NGOs and amplifying the stance and upholding South African laws. And I wonder, though, is the same kind of energy to be leveled for our very own local stars? Because we see activists on social media naming and shaming. We see activists in outrage 365 days of the year, around the behavior of our very own local stars, actors, people we see on television every single day, musicians, people we hear on radio every single day, politicians. But we, unfortunately, unless I've missed it, I've never heard yourself or anyone else come to the corner of those activists in the local conversation and say, in fact, actor so-and-so and singer so-and-so should be pulled off air. Production company so-and-so do it within X amount of time.
First of all, can I just say, completely fair to call me out in that aspect and say, where have you been in this conversation? To answer that question myself, I have to say that I was made the national youth chairperson of this party quite literally, a month ago officially. So it's quite hard to be holding me to standards to that. I'm only turning 26 at the end of this year as well. So, I've finished my formal education and then went straight into National Assembly, where I was the lead researcher for over a year and a half. And then I was voted in as the Good Youth NLC in November last year. So for me to be really having the authority to be able to call out every single different person, obviously without being in that authoritative space, you can check my own personal Twitter, you can check my own personal thoughts on any of my social media as well if you'd like to see that. But I mean, when it comes to exactly what you're talking about, where's good been in the conversation when it comes to these GBV aspects, I ask you again, and I ask the audience again, to please, one, direct yourself to our website forgood.co.za and have a look at the statements and sort by GBV, sort by what we've been talking about, whether it's local issues or international issues. We have been saying things on them. And then when, you talk about as well, the local artists and local politicians, celebrities, comedians, whoever it is, that don't get held accountable, I think a lot of the people who say that haven't really been starting to dig, as someone who...
Caden? Our Zoom session with Caden ended. But Caden, we appreciate the time with you. I think it was most enlightening indeed. And we really do appreciate you throwing your weight behind Women for Change as they call for that cancellation. An important conversation, and a conversation that needs to continue being held from various angles. The conversation around GBV and our practical stance as a country. It's gone 22 2 o'clock. Let's take a quick pause here, and then we'll come back and we'll shift focus.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
The citizens of Manchester are highly motivated to cruise with a convincing victory against Southampton.
It's brilliant from Grealish, and Guardiola's up there as well, and City lead!
Meanwhile, the Saints are pumped up to fight for the entire match duration away from home.
It's flicked on, and again the Saints have the effort, and this time he does score, and we're back in the game.
This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting contest between reigning champions Manchester City FC and Southampton FC on Saturday 26 October at 3:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
The conversation does continue on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on, and we'll double back to your voice notes around this call to cancel Chris Brown's show. Right now, though, we're touching base with Jason Sutty, who's the Coding Ground Managing Director and co-founder, and they're a non-profit academy that's dedicated to empowering talented individuals from South Africa's townships by teaching them in-demand software skills. But we'll find out more. How are you doing this afternoon, Jason?
I'm great. Thank you, Bridget, for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much for the time. I've just literally given a little nugget as to who the Coding Ground is, but perhaps you can expand for us a little bit more by way of context and history.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely will do. So it was about 2016, end of 2016. And at the time, I was working at Rand Merchant Bank, and two of my friends walked into my office and said, "We've been running this school on the weekends for young guys and girls in the townships, and we feel like we want to do more with it. We want to run it every day, not just on weekends, and we want to grow the school talent, the technical talent in the country, specifically software developers." And I just thought, yeah, this is an amazing thing to do. I'd love to be involved. And basically 2017, we started off bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and very inexperienced, and got premises and started just doing the work. Mm-hmm. Since then, we've had cohorts every year going off and getting internships and jobs in the software development space. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have one or two software-orientated conversations in the last month, and so it's a little bit fresh in my head right now. And I do know that South Africa has actually got quite the strong reputation, a good reputation for producing talented software engineers.
We absolutely do. I think we got some of the best engineers in the world, which is good for us and bad for us. It's good for us because if we can retain people working in South Africa, we can build South Africa. But what tends to happen is the cloud providers have also noticed this and come and typically poach our people. That happens quite a lot.
Oh, wowza. Let's talk
Yes.
a little bit about, the type of development and the type of skill sets that you look for in your work within South African communities, in the township communities where you operate. Maybe let's get some understanding as to, what have you been up to over the years?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, so, we recognize that there are a lot of very smart young guys and girls out there, but they just don't have the financial ability to translate that into something more. And so with that understanding, what we do is we go out to, Diepsloot and Lievenhout, Bosch, which are very close, and we basically recruit guys and girls, and they come in, and the first thing we do is we check their cognitive ability and make sure that they can do this type of technical work, because obviously your brain is wired in a certain way. And when they get through that, then we take them through a boot camp, and we assess sort of communication and behavior and language. And if everything works out well, then they come and join us. And we start with a 12-month curriculum teaching JavaScript and front-end development, so sort of like web development. After that, we do 6 months of practical, because in the world of software, you need to understand the ceremonies and the processes, things like Scrum and Agile. How do you actually deliver software? How do you work in a team? How do you work with different roles? Just to prepare the young guys and girls for when they go in on their internships. And we've got a wonderful set of partner companies that work with us, and they essentially take our young guys and girls on 18-month internships. And they come into the organizations with a great support structure, and at the end of the 18 months, they're offered recruitment there. And so the intention here is not training for training's sake. The intention here is training for job creation and increasing the talent pool.
We love that, because that also speaks to the sustainability of a program like this, right? It's we train you, we plug you in, and we give you that necessary support before sort of setting you or letting you loose into the world. Let's also, I want to find out more about, you mentioned cognitive skills as one of the sort of the beginning phases of what you look out for when selecting the students who become part of your program. Over and above that, or outside of that, are you also considering, academic record and maybe the academic selection at high school level, or that doesn't actually matter in the world of software?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Software is very much around problem solving and logic. So we do look at matric results, and where there are flags where it hasn't been a good performance, that it doesn't bode well necessarily. But we look at that, and then the psychometric assessments give us a very good understanding of do you have a brain that works in the way that will help you in the world of software. Problem-solving abilities, logic abilities, those sorts of things. Because it's taken us a few years, and we have learned that it's important upfront to make those decisions well. Otherwise, what happens later on is there's struggles, and the struggles are, primarily because it's maybe not the best fit, but you need to know that early. We want to just make sure everybody's spending their time in the best possible way.
Absolutely. By way of the companies that you've partnered up with, what sort of companies, have come on board to help sort of take in the young grads?
Yeah, so I'm under lots of non-disclosures, but what I will say is one of our great partners, they're called 01. They provide telecommunication software for MTN. But we have others in the crypto world. You'll see their banners all around town. Okay. We have some associated with Uber. We have, from big to small. Yeah. We really have quite an interesting portfolio. And so, the common thread that we see is the companies that have the best sort of structures for kind of bringing people up through the ranks. That's where we do the best. Because, our young guys and girls, they absolutely need support. As much as they've gone through 18 months of the best training we can give them, they still need support in the workplace on, how to operate in the culture, how does the company work, and the mechanics of when you join a new company.
Absolutely. As we wrap it up, Jason, for those who want to get more information, perhaps, on the next cohort and the next intake, where can they go in order to cast their eyes on all of that?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, which is thecodingground, oneword.com. Otherwise, they can email me, jason@thecodingground.com. We actually are doing an intake right now. So if people are interested, I'd love to speak with them. I'd love to talk with them and see if they can join us on the journey.
Awesome. Doing the intake as in now.
Yes, yeah, we're preparing for 2025. So it's quite a process, that we go through. And so we typically have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants. And so it is a process, and we kind of do the process quite a few times before we start in earnest.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Listen, looking forward to this program growing from strength to strength, and we appreciate the time with you this afternoon. That was Jason Sooty, the Coding Ground Managing Director and Co-founder, and you can catch him on email, jason@thecodingground.com, or you can go to thecodingground.com if you want to find out about the current application for the 2025 intake. As he says, they've now started that, so you still have time to go through, assemble all the documents that you need to assemble for your application process, and hopefully it leads to you being a part of what sounds to be an incredible program in software development. It's just gone 10 to 2 o'clock. A quick pause, and then we come back and we look at another scholarship opportunity.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature will host public hearings on Older Persons Amendment Bill 2002 on the 23 October 2024 in Ngakamudiri Molema District at Moshana Community Hall in Zeerost, in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Goedgevonden Community Hall, Ventersdorp, JB Max Local Municipality, in Dr. Ruth Sogomuti Mompati at Dipudi Community Hall, Dipudi Village, Kagisano Molopo Local Municipality, and in Bojanala District at Kraalhoek Community Hall, Kraalhoek, Moses Kotana Local Municipality. All hearings start at 10.
16 teams of Mzansi Africa's Elite League are back to the battlefield. Namandla Masha. They all believe Ukutukuzoba right, Kube bright, as they navigate the path to the final. This is the second edition of the Carlin Knockout Cup. Fagukesi. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ipolala Mzansi. The Carlin Knockout Cup, live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Alrighty, we're catching up now with Umbali Nkosi, who is the recruitment officer for the student sponsorship program, the high school scholarship, and applications are now open for this prestigious scholarship. Umbali is going to tell us more. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Maybe firstly, just a little bit of background on the student sponsorship program.
Oh, yes. Student Sponsorship Program, in short, is SSP, was founded in 2000. So now we are turning 25 years next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a scholarship, it is a high school scholarship program where we look for disadvantaged and world academical scholars, and then we put them through our recruitment process. And we take them in if they qualify, and then we take them in through our program.
Mm.
So we are currently open for grade 6s this year.
All right. And tell us by way of, so you cover, or you open for grade 6, but obviously the scholarship then covers the entire high school career.
Yes. So the scholar must be currently in grade 6 when they apply with us, and when they are in grade 7, it is the process of interviews, entrance exams, and camps until the finalist, and then we will place them when they go to grade 8. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So you must be currently in grade 6 when you make the application.
Yes.
All right. And if you are successful, the likelihood is the program then takes over from grade 7 moving forward. Do you target particular regions for the scholarship, or is it national?
So currently we are only in Gauteng and in the Eastern Cape.
Gauteng and Eastern Cape.
Yes, we have more school in the Gauteng, and then maybe we have 3 schools in the Eastern Cape. Yes.
Got you. And by way of specifics, are you focused on students that are focused on specific areas of subjects?
Yes. So we are looking for scholars who attain 70% and above in mathematics, natural science, and English.
All right. So 70% and above in mathematics, natural sciences, and English. Right.
Yes.
Are there any sort of tick boxes that the parents also need to be ticking?
Yes, definitely. We have a tick box. So the parent must demonstrate a financial need, household gross income combined, not exceeding 20,000 monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is the highlight.
Okay.
After the 70% and above.
Okay.
And then when you go to our website, there's a recruitment page.
Mm.
So the application form for this year, it has all the ticking box. We need the certified copy of a scholar birth certificate, we need a certified copy of scholar grade 5 report and the grade 6 report.
Okay.
We need the parents' IDs or legal guidance. We also need, if the parent is working, we need copy of pay slips, a 3-month bank statement. If they live on SASA, we need a letter of confirmation that you only receive SASA.
Got you. Wonderful stuff. Mbali, and just to reconfirm, the website is www.ssp.org.za.
Correct.
Wonderful. Mbali Nkosi, thank you so much. Mbali is the recruitment officer for the student sponsorship program for the high school scholarship aimed at talented grade 6 learners. You have to be in grade 6 when you make the application. And at minimum, you must be no older than 12 and achieve 70% or higher in mathematics, natural sciences, and English. And the household combined income must be below 200,000 Rand. www.ssp.org.za is where you can go. Applications are open until the 31st of October, so you still have a little bit of time. And they've partnered with some schools in Gauteng, the likes of King Edward, the likes of Kingsmead College, Pretoria High, both the girls and the boys, Rodine, Sacred Heart, Sahati, St. David's Marist in Inanda, St. John's, basically all the saints, St. Styrians, St. Martin's. So good selection of schools that they've partnered up with here. 2 o'clock on the dot, and I think we've got a short break, and then Madupi is coming through.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge. The top stories calls for stricter anti-corruption measures in municipalities, and the DA's bid against Ramaphosa's address is dismissed. A very good afternoon. The Local Government Association, SALGA, has called for stricter measures to address corruption in municipalities. It says the current system is ineffective as it neglects the monitoring of compliance by senior officials with professional standards and code of ethics. Here's SALGA's Thamsanqa Ngubane.
As SALGA was saying, we are calling for the professionalization where municipal managers, CFO, and engineers, technical managers will belong to a professional body which will then set the professional standard and code of ethics that if your performance is below that particular threshold, then you can be struck off the roll. We are borrowing this approach from the legal profession. We at SALGA, we believe that this is the only way that we can turn around the situation.
The DA has lost its legal challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's address to the nation ahead of the elections in May. This as the Electoral Court today dismissed the party's application. The DA hauled the president before the court in a July hearing, accusing him of abusing the highest office in the land for flagrant electioneering. The Electoral Court, however, concluded that the president's conduct did not compromise the freeness or fairness of the polls, and that there was no evidence that the president's address had any tangible impact on the elections. In Limpopo, the Polokwane Magistrates Court has postponed the case of a 35-year-old businesswoman accused of defrauding the Unemployment Insurance Fund to Thursday. Lina Rapotu is accused of using the details of 5 job seekers to make an application for the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme TERS at the UIF as her company's employees. The company was paid more than 72,000 Rand, but the money never reached the recipients. Magistrate Joseph Sitole postponed the matter to allow the state to profile the accused.
The court is of the view that the state should be afforded an opportunity to profile the accused, and therefore the matter is going to be remanded for the profile to the 24 October 2024. Please state ensure that by then the profile has been obtained so that we can proceed with the issue of bail, because the issue of bail, as you know, is very urgent. Accused, your matter is postponed to the 24th of October 2024. At this stage, there is no bail. You remain in custody. That will be for your profiling.
KZN Premier Tamin Duli has visited the Isolemamba High School in Umbumbulu on the south of Durban to encourage matriculants there at the start of their final exams. A total of 174,000 full-time and 24,000 part-time candidates are sitting for this year's finals across the province. Ntuli says he hopes that KZN will improve on last year's matric pass rate of 86%.
For 13 years, they've been preparing for this important moment, and it's important that then they focus to the examinations. They do not allow any disruption, ensure that they prepare. You see, when you come to this period, you prepare for the exam by answering questions, previous question papers. They must answer as many as they can, so that in fact they will increase their chances of not only passing, but of passing with good results that will enable them to even go to the actual universities.
And the president of Moldova, Maya Sandu, has blamed foreign forces and criminal gangs for the unexpected results of the presidential election and a referendum on its relations with Europe. The BBC's Sarah Rainsford has more.
For Maya Sandu and her team, it's been a very tense night. Before the results of voting by Moldovans abroad came in, it seemed the country had said no to enshrining EU membership in the constitution. Now, the result is far too close to call. It'll be decided by a few thousand votes. In the presidential election, her nearest rival has done far better than expected, which will mean a second-round vote and a real struggle. In the early hours of morning, the president appeared briefly to denounce what she called an unprecedented assault on Moldova's democracy.
The top story at 2 o'clock, Local Government Association SALGA has called for stricter measures to address corruption in municipalities. For SAFM News, Kimurupima Khalemele.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.3 FM in Rustenburg.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
16 teams of Mzansi Africa's Elite League are back to the battlefield. Namandla Masha. They all believe Ukutukuzoba right, Kube bright, as they navigate the path to the final. This is the second edition of the Carlin Knockout Cup. Fagukesi. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ipola Mzansi. The Carlin Knockout Cup, live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I kissed you on my return. I watched you from every corner and every curve, and I wonder, was it all a blessing or all a curse? But you prove it to me. Look at how far we've come. Man, look at how far we've come. Oh, 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 I know it's true. Oh, 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 I know it's true, yeah. 'Cause I found a heaven in you. Yeah, I found a heaven in you. One little shadow, no, oh love just instead. I think that I found the one, I mean, how could I not? When every picture wearing makes my heart stop. Yeah, oh man, you take me so high up. Yes, you get me so inspired. Oh, you take me so high up. Yeah, you get me so inspired. Oh, 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 I know it's true. Oh, 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 I know it's true, yeah. 'Cause I found a heaven in you. Yeah, I found a heaven in you.
It is Hugh Masinga coming through with J Something. Heaven in You is the name of the song. That is how we get into the second hour of the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, having the conversations that move you. It's just gone 2:10, by the way, in case you're keeping track of time. Listen, we've not forgotten that today is the first day of matric exams. They're writing matric paper 1. So, or they've written it already. Yes, they wrote it in the morning. So we've not forgotten that, the matrics are geared up now. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any messages for somebody in your family or in the friendship circle, one of the kids is writing matric exams, 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Please, send them a message, wish them the very best of luck. And here's the thing. I was watching the news today, one of my favorite news broadcasters, and they were asking the question, do you remember your matric exams? And what was the thing that had you having sleepless nights, either leading up to your matric exams or during the period of your matric exams? And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, ooh, I remember my mathematics paper. Oh, and it was both, because I come from the school of writing mathematics. So maths paper 1 and maths paper 2. How am I was sweating. I was sweating from every pore, from everything. I was stressed for those papers. I was so stressed for those papers. One day I'll tell you the story of how I became disinterested in mathematics, and it involves a teacher called Mr. Balls. I don't know if he still teaches at my old high school, but we'd love to hear from you. We often speak around themes of matrics on the show, and we cover all kinds of things, but it might also be nice for them to hear that now, when you were in matric, and you had to sit for your exams, that there were things that were causing you much anxiety and much sleepless nights, and maybe you even thought you were going to fail it, and then by some miracle you actually passed. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. We'd love to hear those reflections, and of course you can send the matrics a message as well, even if you don't have a matriculant that is sitting for the exams starting today, or even if you don't know a matriculant that is sitting for the exams starting today. You can just send a generic matric exam well-wish message, and let's get this momentum going, and let's ensure that they know that we're thinking about them, and we love them, and we're praying for them, and we wish them the very best. Let's take a quick pause.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
We are catching up now with founder of the Next Table, Snekuku Kikine, and Snekuku is a chef born and bred in Durban, my hometown, and serving up all kinds of incredible delicacies. And need I ask you, because you matriculated in 2009 from the Holy Family College in Glenmore, how was your matric year?
Our matric year was challenging, to put it lightly. We all thought we were too cool for school. When the exams hit, that's when we realized life is hitting.
Yes. It's wonderful to sort of go down memory lane. And look at you now, a qualified professional chef. Is this something you've always known that you were going to do?
If I'm being honest with you, Bridget, no.
Okay.
When I left school, my head was set on just becoming Chief Justice. I was going to be a lawyer through and through, and that's what I was going to do until I realized, I think in my fourth year, just about to start articles, then like the cooking bug just bit me out of nowhere. And I remembered that it's something that I really, really did enjoy, and I took a chance and pivoted.
Interesting. And when you took the chance to pivot, what was the general feeling around the household? Those who've already imagined themselves saying, Chief Justice, my daughter is the Chief Justice.
Yeah. Overall anxiety, that I can tell you, coming from especially an African household, you know that these things, education comes first, and choosing such a different route to take, something that wasn't really that we weren't exposed to at the time, and we didn't know the diversity within it. It was a little bit, I had to sit them down and walk them through this path, and they just had to have faith in me and allow me to take this journey.
Wonderful stuff. And I mean, you've worked in different environments. So yesterday was International Chef's Day, or World Chef's Day. And you've worked in different environments since you've graduated, St. Mary's DSG Kloof. You're the head chef there, executive head chef at Little Havana in Umhlanga. And of course, then you are the owner and founder of the Next Table. But these all speak to three different sort of chefing experiences and skills.
Yes, that's true. And it's not limited to that as well.
Yeah. Tell me sort of like how you move and fluctuate between the different spaces and obviously other things that you sort of embark on by way of catering and chefing. I can imagine that what you do at a girls' school isn't necessarily what you do at the Next Table.
True. That's definitely true. Like any other industry, it wants you to learn and grow and always stay current with the trends and always stay expanding and learning. So maneuvering in between the different specters, they just push you to becoming a better chef and working towards producing the best quality food that you can produce. So what you do for the girls you do it, and then you add a little bit of what you learned in the restaurants industry per se, and you see if you can't fuse the two. And that's where the magic happens. That's what sets you apart, because you out here just fusing different melting pots of cultures and different diverse specters of the industry.
And obviously, being the proprietor of your own place, the next table, that's now taking on different roles, right? Because now you're not just in the kitchen making executive culinary decisions. Now you're also making business decisions every day, and the two impact each other.
Yes, and we need all our chefs to understand that it's not just about your passion anymore. You do need to evolve and learn other aspects of the industry.
Absolutely. What kind of flavor can people expect? And maybe also just give us the lay of the land around the next table, because we don't want to assume that it's a restaurant or a patisserie, because chefs have been doing quite interesting things, experiential things under the banner of their names and taking the food out of a particular place and bringing it into the environment. It's been very exciting in recent years.
Yes, that's true. Next Table does the exact same thing. It gives you the 5-star treatment and quality you'd expect from a five-star restaurant, but in the comfort of your home or in a dinner party. So we just give you a very elevated culinary experience. So you can have it anywhere at any time. You just let us know when to set it up for you.
Is it as much stress, Snegugu, catering a private dinner, let's say for 20 friends on a special occasion, versus, catering for 2,000, for instance, at a VIP event?
For me, it's as stressful as catering for a VIP event, because I'm very meticulous in what I send out. I usually joke and say every piece of plates or food that I send out is a piece of me. So I want to make sure that everybody enjoys it to the level of whether there's 20 or 5, they must feel like they are special in that case, and everything was catered specially for them. So that is what we stress, and that's the quality in which we give our customers.
And by way of staying up to date with the culinary trends, it's been a space that's enjoyed a lot of PR over in recent years. And it's birthed some rock star chefs. Now, domestically, even South Africa's got some of the world's most renowned chefs and eateries. How do you stay on top of that? How do you stay on top of the trends? How do you incorporate those trends into everything that you do and produce?
It's research. You never stop learning. You just never stop learning. And as you learn, you try implement as much as you can into your own space, and you try to stay authentic at the fact that you have your own thing going on, but the more you infuse, the more you grow. So you don't stop learning, essentially, especially in this industry.
And talk to me about, because we touch a little bit on you being the proprietor, the founder, the owner, the creative director. It's multiple hats that you're wearing at the same time. And the business side of you has to be quite strategic, right? I presume, and preemptive, especially if you want to grow your business and sustain your business. Let's have that conversation around those skills that are required by chefs, not just in the kitchen, but also the ability to tackle the business like any other business.
Yes, like you said, it's like any other business. It's not only different because now you're a chef. A lot of chefs just tend to like to focus on being in the kitchen and producing, and it's more than that. It's costing, it's knowing your clients, it's people skills, it's managing people. So it's all these little skills that not necessarily you pick up in a classroom, but you do need to acquire. And working in restaurants and things like that, they kind of take into play. That's when you need to learn the most. So while you're working under a person or a restaurant owner, while you're still just a chef, take in the lessons. I mean, sit down with them, sit down with the general manager, learn a few things, learn how to stock take, learn how to balance sheets, and learn all of that. So you eventually build yourself up to eventually owning your own business.
I've heard or read somewhere that you also want to open up a farm restaurant. That's the other thing I'm seeing a few chefs kind of take to.
Yes, it's a huge migration happening where we're all just moving farm to table because one, it's cost effective, and two, we realize that the purer the ingredients, the better the product you produce. So we want to give people the best. We want to give non-diluted food that's nice and pure, but just keep the essence of flavor at the same time.
Yeah. Snekuku Kikine, thank you so much for the time. And Snekuku is the founder of The Next Table. She's a powerhouse chef. She's also the woman responsible for ensuring the nutrition of the ladies out at St. Mary's DSG Kloof. And she's the executive chef at Little Havana. I don't know where you get all the time to do it, because I also am told about the pressures and the sleepless nights of being in the culinary space. But clearly she's a woman who does not enjoy sleeping very much with all that's on her plate. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. We just, we are in solidarity with our matriculants that sat down for their first paper today. And we wanted you to send them a message. If you have somebody in your family or in your circle of friends that is writing matric, their child is writing matric, you can, name them if you so wish, if you feel safe and comfortable enough, and wish them well. And then, of course, I'd also love to know about your matric year, when you sat down to write your matric. That first paper, I think, sets the tone for the rest of the 4 or 5 weeks that you're going to be writing matric. Because if you get into that first paper and it's a paper that you weren't prepared for, in my day, the first paper always was either a maths paper or an English paper. And it just kind of set the tone. If you can get through that hump and that hurdle, you are fine and cruising for the rest. You might have a little hiccup here and there, with the ones that you're not that prepared for. But that first paper, that was the icebreaker. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's go to WhatsApp.
Good afternoon, Bridget. This is Cindy from Tata in the Eastern Cape. I'm the mother of a matriculant, Elikaya Tandoletu Kwaka. He's going to school in Mount Frey, at Mount Frey Community High School. I'd like to wish him all the best on his final exams and the rest of the matriculants in the country. Thank you. Bye.
All right, we are just trying to load our WhatsApps quickly. Another one says, hey, Bridget, my matric was back in 1994 and I wrote English, Setswana, maths, science, and economics. I was told I need to pass all subjects to get certified. I took a risk and passed all of them. Yeah, that was the general consensus here. I think it's still very much the rule of thumb with matric. There's some subjects that you cannot fail, and some subjects that you have to pass. Mathematics and English you have to pass them in order to pass. Let's go to WhatsApp, 061-410-4107.
Hi, Bridget. This is Loretta, just reflecting on my matric year, which was 1983. I arrived at my examination location very excited, fully prepared for my Afrikaans second paper. And when I got to the location, the examination room, I realized that we were actually writing biology that day. So that was quite a traumatic experience for me. However, I got safely through the paper and finished it, and I passed biology that year. And needless to say, I did amazing in my Afrikaans, which was a few days later. So with that said, I wish the matrics of 2024 all the very best. Please check your timetables and make sure that you're fully prepared and take lots of breaks while you're studying. So all the best to all the matrics of 2024. Thank you.
That story, that happens more often than you think, actually, where you wake up thinking that you're writing one exam, meanwhile you're writing another, and the one that you were anticipating is like a few days later or a week later. It happens more than you think. You know what I always find funny when and I think this has not changed. I get the feeling even if we talked, can you imagine? even if we spoke to matriculants today, you find that there's this thing when you get into the hall, the writing hall, or before even the conversation, the chat is around, are you prepared? Did you study? did this question and that question, did that come out and that question? And I always found that so hilarious because I thought it was us trying to gauge whether or not you'd studied enough. When people go, and then section C, what did you write for section C? This is what I wrote for section C. And you think, what if we're all just lying to each other and we're all feeding each other bad information? And the smart kids never want to share how they answered question C. They're always just like, oh yeah, no, it was cool. And then they walk away. And the rest of you are sweating because now it doesn't match up. What you wrote and what your friend wrote and what your other BFF wrote doesn't make sense. And you are worried that question C definitely threw you off. We're wishing matrics a happy matric writing season today, and we just are wanting to send them love and also share our stories as those who've now done matric, just to be like, here's the funny part of writing matric. You could wake up thinking you're writing biology. Meanwhile, you are writing Afrikaans. 061-410-4107 is where you can continue to send those WhatsApp voice notes. And of course, if you do know someone that's writing matric or your child is writing matric, feel free to also shout them out and wish them well. Madupi is standing by with the headline news.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines at 2:30, the MK Party has laid fraud and corruption charges against the National Treasury. The Local Government Association, SALGA, has called for stricter measures to address corruption in municipalities. And Pakistan's parliament has passed amendments to the constitution, giving it more powers in appointing senior judges. And those are your headlines. A full news update, 3 o'clock.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
You know those students that say, I didn't study. My friend was one of those. I didn't study. It was boring. I didn't. And then when the results come out, 80%, 90%, that time you studied for like 2 weeks preparing for maths paper 2. But anyway, good luck to the matric students.
All righty, keep them coming. We're wishing our matrics well. They sat down for their first paper today, including a very talented young lady I got the pleasure of meeting, Setabile Shabangani, this past weekend, a soprano soloist, so incredibly gifted. She sat down for her first paper today. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's get into Kids Corner.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello, my name is Leticia. My surname is Kalinga. I am in grade 5A. My school is Parktown Public School. There's nothing that I'm scared to talk about with my parents because we share everything together. But then there is one topic I am scared to discuss with my dad, but my mom is like, okay. The reason I feel scared is because my dad is very strict, very strict. So that is kind of scary sometimes, but then it's okay sometimes. How I think he would react when I bring it up, I don't know because I've never really tried to do that one. If I was to try, I would prefer if it would be at night before we go to bed, so that he can forget in the morning. Yeah, I'll just start slowly. I would make sure he's in a good mood, something like that. Yeah. I think it is important to share everything with your parents as a child because your parents, they are guardians that God put for you to help you in your life. So how can they be there to help you when you're not telling them what's happening? So that's why it's always good to tell. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tanda Zasibanda. I am 9 years old. There's nothing I feel scared to tell my parents. I tell my parents everything. And to the kids that are listening to me, please tell your parents everything that you are scared to tell them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Posiso. My surname is Ramutabi. I am 11 years old, and I feel very comfortable to talk to my parents about anything that I have in mind because I might end up feeling bad. So to those kids who are scared and shy to talk about their personal things to their parents, feel free to tell your parents because you might end up bottling things in your heart for so long that you can't even handle them anymore. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Basic. My surname is Mate. I learn at Parktown grade 4B. There is nothing that I'm shy to tell my parents, and those who are shy, they must tell their parents the truth because they are going to end up in trouble. Thank you.
My name is Sipukazi Mesima Shabela. I am 10 years old. There is nothing that I'm shy to tell my parents about because, well, whenever I tell my parents about a very, very personal issue, well, they just comfort me and I feel well loved. And to all those kids in South Africa, always tell your parents because, well, you need to get all of those personal sad stories off your chest so that you can be able to feel free and no more having anxiety or feeling scared about. Thank you.
Afternoon, my name is Friska Pepe. I learn in Parktown Public School. I'm in grade 5A. There's nothing that I feel scared about to talk with my parents because my parents always show love to me. Even if it's personal matters, I talk to them. So to all those kids in the whole wide world, feel free because if you carry that weight in your shoulder, it will end up giving you stress and you will not be able to work in your school, focus in your schoolwork. So please tell your parents and feel free. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mandisa Sobusa in grade 5B. There's nothing I feel scared of telling my parents because they are always supporting me with every matter and every issue. All the children in the world, you must not be scared to tell your parents because if you don't tell them, it's going to get you into a lot of trouble.
Hi, my name is Adival. I learn in Parktown Public School in grade 5B. I think you must not be scared to tell your parents because you'll be having problems, issues with your friends and family, even your family members like your siblings, brother and sister. Do not be scared to tell your parents because the parents are there for you, only you and your siblings. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Yolanda Mzobe. I am 10 years old. I learn in Parktown Public School. I'm in grade 5C. There's nothing I'm scared to talk to my parents because my parents are the one who always make me to feel better, to feel happy and excited. So there's nothing I'm scared to talk to, even if it's personal, but I choose my parents to talk to because some people don't take you serious. To kids who are scared to speak to their parents, feel free. There's nothing to be scared of because something might hurt you inside. So feel free to talk to your parents or somebody else, but the most thing you should know is to feel free, to not be shy. You should always talk to your parents. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel. My surname is Taimo and I'm 9 years old. No, there's nothing I feel scared to talk to my parents about because I always trust them. I'll never hide anything to my parents. They always trust me and I also want to trust them too. I'll say you must always trust your parents on whatever you do and no matter what, they will always love you. Thank you.
Hello friends and happy Monday. Wishing you all a fantastic new week. Today I want to share something really important. The value of talking to your parents or guardians and being open about almost anything, even if it feels a bit awkward. It's natural to want to keep things to yourself because you might feel scared or unsure about how to express yourself. But honestly, having those conversations with your parents can be incredibly beneficial. Let me explain why. First off, your parents care about you more than anyone else. Their love for you is genuine, and they truly want what's best for you. When you share your problems, concerns, or even confusions with them, they can offer you valuable advice. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but remember, they've experienced many of the same challenges you face now, so they really do understand. Secondly, if you're feeling worried or upset, keeping those feelings bottled up can make everything seem heavier. It's like carrying a big backpack all alone. But when you open up to your parents or guardians, it's like sharing that weight with someone strong who can help you sort things out and feel a sense of relief. Thirdly, your parents are there to support you, not to judge you. You might think, what if I get in trouble? But most parents just want to understand what's happening so they can assist you. They can't help if they don't know what's bothering you. So if it feels tough, being honest is always better than keeping things hidden. Next, try to find a good time to chat with your parents or guardians. Look for a moment when they're not too busy or distracted. You can start by saying, Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something. This shows you're ready for a serious discussion, making it easier for them to pay attention. Lastly, keep in mind that your parents are your biggest supporters. They will always be in your corner. You are never alone when you have them to confide in. So don't shy away from sharing anything, no matter how challenging or sensitive it may seem. Being open with your parents helps you grow stronger, more confident, and even closer to them. Let's make an effort to communicate with our parents more often.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Let's talk to our cricket correspondent, a man who follows the game intimately, and I know you enjoy his contributions on the show. Kevin Rademeyer, great to have you back.
I think your passion about the game is excellent. Even during your football commentary on Tuesday, you were super excited about the ladies getting through, which you heard just about midway through the second half. And you summed it up beautifully there. I think most of the people in South Africa thought, here we go again. We contained them 117 overs and it got away from us in the last 3 overs. We need to be positive. We need to put our foot down, which is great for South African cricket because, as you know, we normally are quite traditional and we are quite conservative in our approach in these knockout games.
Top Sport on SAFM.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
All right, we are catching up now with Dr. Bronwyn Batchelor, Head of Faculty at Head of Faculty Law at the Independent Institute of Education. And we're having a conversation around the importance of career guidance very early on in high school. And in fact, some folks say that it's essential to help students make informed decisions about their future. And we always leave it until, the sort of last stages of high school. How are you doing this afternoon, Dr. Bronwyn? You good?
Good afternoon, Bridget, to you and your listeners. Yes, I'm doing good, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. We've had these similar conversations centered around these themes of prepping kids for leaving school, getting into tertiary, prepping tertiary for the workforce. And I think one of the sort of golden threads is around early access to information and guidance, especially for students, for high school students.
Correct. So access to information is available. Our concern is that students aren't accessing the information timely and early enough on in their high school careers to place themselves in an opportune position regarding their career prospects. So when I say that information is available, there are many sources that our students can access. There's online sources and in-person sources, and most of them are actually free of charge. So we do have the National Career Advice Portal that's offered by government, where students can go and have a look. There's many other online resources, but then also we're encouraging our students to contact the institution that they're possibly considering studying at in the future and making an appointment with a career guidance counselor. It's not to say that you're making any commitment to study at that institution, but they will be able to guide you on what subjects you need in high school, what kind of marks you need, so that you can set yourself up on the right path.
Do you think that students understand the importance of accessing this information early on? Because the guidance teacher will say something, in guidance class, or what they now call life orientation, but it's not a message that is consistently drummed into our heads, say from grade 7, for instance.
And I think, Bridget, as well, there's many other things that our young students are potentially focusing on. Their attention is swayed in many directions by social media, which is why I think it's important, especially for guardians and mentors, to step up in this equation and to remind our students of the importance of their future, because what we really are talking about is their future. Because the decisions they make with regards to subject choices going into grade 10 in particular sets them up on the path for their potential career. We understand that in grade 8 students are maybe settling into the high school atmosphere, and that journey is focused on that at that time. But I think definitely from grade 9 our students need to be focusing on looking at their future, and having that view as well really motivates our young students to be able to see that there is an end in sight, and that I'm studying at high school for a particular purpose, and that purpose is for a meaningful career.
Let's talk a little bit about perhaps the potential consequences of one delaying getting this, early career guidance.
Yes, so I mentioned, you're going to have to, as a young student, make subject choice decisions going into grade 10, and those subject choice decisions then dictate what you're able to progress with in grade 11 and ultimately finish with in grade 12. If you haven't done your homework and ascertained what qualification you need, whether it's a higher certificate or a bachelor's degree, it doesn't really matter. But if you haven't found out that information and mapped backwards to the admission criteria for that qualification, you might find that you don't have the subjects or the marks to be admitted into the qualification you need for your career. That means that you may have to possibly redo your matric year, alternatively add on to your university studies by an extra year or two to bridge that gap that is then missing. We know that has delayed career consequences, entering the job market later. It also has cost implications. And in our economy today, that's the last thing that we need.
Yeah. By way of the common misconceptions perhaps around career paths, what comes up in conversation and research?
So I think the common misconceptions relate to possible careers. The traditional careers always come forefront in our students' minds, and maybe even the guardians, because that's what we are aware of. So everyone's aware of the doctor, the lawyer, the dentist. But we forget that our employment market is changing on a daily basis. And there's quite an uptake, especially in South Africa, in the entrepreneurial market. And so those types of skill sets are the skills that actually our students should be focusing on. So when you look at career guidance, it's not only what is happening now, where there are jobs available, but what does the future look like? Because it looks very different to what it is now, as opposed to what it will look like in 5 years' time. So that's the first misconception. The second misconception is sometimes believing information that you hear from your peers or from sources of information that are not necessarily accurate. So I can give you a legal example because that's the field that I specialize in. But we've recently heard of students believing that if they have a Bachelor of Commerce in Law, that's a BCom degree, that they can become an attorney or an advocate, a lawyer, which is actually incorrect. The only qualification in South Africa that allows you to enter into the legal profession is a Bachelor of Laws degree, otherwise known as an LLB degree. And that seems like a minor misconception. However, it will set a student on a path that when they have to change and correct that misinformation will mean further or additional years of study, once again, a cost and delay implication.
061-410-4107. I'm informed that one of our listeners actually has a question for you. Let's go to WhatsApp.
Sure.
Hi, Bridget. I'm just listening to your speaker. I'm a high school teacher, and honestly, I think what she's saying is absolute nonsense. How can you expect a 14-year-old to consider the rest of their lives? How can you expect a 15-year-old to make accurate or reliable choices that they have to be held accountable to for the rest of their lives? That's completely absurd. I think what would be more interesting is looking at the number of people who study a degree and don't actually go into that particular career. I think teaching something like critical thinking is much more important than getting the kids to choose a specific subject that then binds them to the career for the rest of their lives. That's absolutely impossible to expect anyone to be able to hold to any kind of decision at that age.
And that, of course, coming from our caller, Dr. Bronwyn, I think the sentiment also speaks to, and we've had conversation around the sort of structure of the American college system, right? Where they first would do sort of their version of an undergrad with no real specific focus. And then only about third year in do they then start directing in a specific way. And I think he speaks of a very similar sentiment, because we've had education, specialists like yourself in various arenas who speak of, well, maybe we should actually start thinking along those lines.
Yes, I mean, Bridget, interesting perspective from your listener. And I'm in no way advocating for a student to choose a career when they're 14 years old. I mean, I think that's a misinterpretation of what I'm saying. What we're encouraging is career guidance, which normally begins with an assessment of a student's skills, interests, and strengths. And then they can then use this information to identify potential career paths, right? And along that journey, they're going to have to make decisions when they're entering grade 10 regarding subject choice. So we're saying it's important that they have the correct information at that point. Obviously, that may change along their journey, but we encourage them not to be limited by making incorrect choices. And then once you enter into university, there are two schools of thought. Even in the law fraternity, there are those students that study a Bachelor of Laws immediately. So they focus on law and a legal career straight up front, and that's a 4-year qualification. And then you have those, like myself, that was maybe similar to your listener, unsure that that was the commitment I wanted to make. And so I entered with a Bachelor of Commerce in law, and I specialized in law and management and economics. And then thereafter I decided, yes, I'm actually 100% sure that law is the journey. And so I went on to do the Bachelor of Laws thereafter. But in order to be able to even go on that journey, I had to meet the admission requirements of the higher education institution to enter into the Bachelor of Commerce in Law. So it goes back to not wanting our students to feel limited because they don't have the necessary admission criteria if they're wanting to study further. And there might be those that don't want to study further, and that's 100% okay as well, because we're all on different journeys and we have different skill sets. But I think discovering those as early on as possible, leveraging them and developing them is pivotal in all of our lives. Isn't that what life is about?
Yeah. By way of our final point, Dr. Bronwyn, let's explore the role of parents and guardians in this career planning conversation. How do they actively contribute to the conversation?
I think parents and guardians play a role of encouragement and also in providing the children with the opportunity to obtain the necessary information. Ultimately, we must remember that the decision is the student. Sometimes, and I say that purposefully because sometimes we do find guardians and parents becoming overly involved, where they potentially project their wishes and wills upon their child, and we're not advocating for that. We unfortunately do see it in higher education, where a child ends up studying a law degree, and when we meet with them to find out why they're not doing well, we find out that the only reason they're studying that is because it was their parent that wants them to be a lawyer, because it's one of those traditional careers again. So as a parent or guardian, we're just encouraging you really to provide your child with the opportunity to obtain the information, whether it be through a career guidance counseling session that you book for them, whether it be through the online portals that are available, I think that really is fundamentally their role and responsibility in this.
Yeah. Dr. Bronwyn Batchelor, we appreciate the time with you, Head of Faculty Law at the Independent Institute of Education. As we begin to wind down the show, we want to double back to your voice notes on 061-410-4107. If you have any well wishes for the matriculants that are going into their final exam season over the next 5 weeks. The only call from the Department of Education, apart, of course, from you nurturing them, supporting them, ensuring that they get plenty of rest, plenty of sleep, that we lessen their stress levels, is that please don't make them wash any dishes or do laundry or do any of let them just have this moment to focus on studying. If they're not studying, they're resting. If they're not resting, they're eating, and not doing anything else like house chores and, washing and dishes and things of that nature. So study, eat, sleep. Study, eat, sleep, and go for a walk and get some fresh air. But we'd love to know, your well wishes. We'd love to hear your well wishes for the class of 2024. 061-410-4107.
Hi, Bridget. 1991. Rushed into the exam room just to find out that your number's on the table. I don't have children in matric. All of them are finished with school. Mathematics, business, and accountancy. That's what I did. And I had the wonderful Mr. Malchas, my maths teacher. Didn't know anything about mathematics, so he had told us he's going to study if we study. So matric, the best mathematics teacher that I had. Thank you, Bridget. Enjoy your day. Bye. Donovan here from the Eastern Cape, Gqeberha, working today in East London.
Hi, Bridget. I did my matric. It was 1988. It was hectic. It was very challenging. Nervous, anxiety. But I did make it for something. Even my daughter now, my last born, is writing the exam now today. I just wrote today's first English paper. I think it's a paper. Yeah, he wrote it. But he said he went well for it or something. I wish all my children, the people who are writing the grade 12, all the best or something. They might make us proud. Thank you.
Hello, Bridget. I'm in Rustenburg in the Northwest Province. Yes, my daughter is writing as from today. I'm saying to her, all the best, my baby girl. May the hand of God Almighty be upon you and the rest of the matriculants. With me, way back, is a very bad story. I was doing physical science and mathematics. The day I was writing physical science, Bridget, I only saw stars. I couldn't make it. Every question was a nightmare. To a point that even today, my certificate is not having physical science. It means I failed dismally. But I thank God that I managed to go through to my tertiary in a way, because God helped me. I did something that did not want physical science. Thank you.
There's always stories, right? And I think this is why we've asked you to share, because I think parents, when parents are parenting, they forget that they were in matric nabo, and we apply the pressure because you want the very best for your kids and from your kids. Given the world that we live in, but it's a refreshing reminder to share these stories with your kids. Guti, you walked into that physical science paper, everything just went blank. Because it does happen. You know what I mean? It does happen. I remember I didn't do accounting. I dropped accounting in grade 10. But I remember, and when I knew that I had to drop accounting, I was like, I cannot carry this through matric, was in the accounting exam room, the final exam, and they give those big desks, like the standard desk was not enough. They use the art room that's got the big desks. and everybody was standing. There was not a student seated during that exam trying to balance the balance sheet. That's when I knew that I cannot do this in matric. Let me just not. So I went into matric with one headache and one headache only. I was telling my team that my principal at the time, Mrs. O'Connor, she had a meeting with me. She was in some, okay, listen, you're doing bad in mathematics now. And so you need to take maths standard grade instead of maths higher grade, just so that you can pass with 33 and a third. Can we just get you over the hump of 33 and a third so that it appears? And as a safeguard, can you do a 7th subject? So then I picked up Zulu. But in my day, you had to pass mathematics. Otherwise, you weren't going anywhere. You know what I mean? So, so I did 7 subjects, and maths I scraped through with 33 and a third. Just in J, maybe a 3rd point, a fraction, but that's how I scraped through maths. So if you are writing your exams today, we wish you the very best of luck. Really, we know that you're going to do absolutely well. You've been preparing not just for the whole year, but you've been preparing your entire scholastic career. So you are more than ready to sit down and buckle down and focus and do what needs to be done. And if it doesn't go according to plan, paper by paper, don't stress, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. And we always have those conversations after the matric exams around, well, what becomes of plan B if it didn't go according to plan for whatever reason. And mom and dads and guardians, we wish you well as well, because we also know Guti Gwawena self in this time, you are quite under pressure. So we wish you peace and calm and tranquility in the household so that everyone can get through the next 5 to 6 weeks. Ashraf Gada is coming through, and he's going to be with you from 3 until 6 o'clock. We will see you tomorrow on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
The top stories at 3 o'clock. The MK party lays charges against the National Treasury, and Pakistan passes amendments to its constitution. A very good afternoon. The MK party has laid fraud and corruption charges against the National Treasury at the Brooklyn Police Station in Pretoria. This is in relation to the failed integrated financial management system. The IMFS contract, which was awarded in 2017, involved the purchase of a system from the IT company Oracle with the promise of integration and improvements in municipal finances. To date, the system has not been utilized and has cost the South African taxpayer millions. MK Party MP Des van Rooyen.
No, look, now because we are dealing with a ministry, so here we are saying the executive authority as well as the accounting officer must account to the nation about what happened, and that goes also to the leadership of Oracle, that goes also to the leadership of SITA. And we think the investigation that will be conducted by our law enforcement agents will exactly